people were smoking this crack, but they didn't understand the effects to it. So after a while, about a year, they seen that it was a very addictive drug, and it caused people to walk around like zombies. Wasn't robbing, people and women started turning to prostitution and so on and so forth. And then the second phase came in. Now that they got the people strung out on drugs, you know what I'm saying? In 1984, we talk about I told you about 1983, 1984, CCA was formed. CCA is Correctional Corporation of America. After they decided to take the money that they got and all the other drug dealers that they had working for them illegally, they said, okay, we're going to finance the war. Another plan, we see that the drug is so effective, now we can incarcerate all of these people in, and we can get Bush and all the rest of them to privatize prisons. So they privatize prisons. You know, now you got all these zombies walking around, and you know, if any other nation would have had a drug problem like that, they would have called it an epidemic. They would have quarantined those people and put them in different little areas, and they would have tried to clean the drug problem up. But not America. America learned it to run, allowed it to run rapid. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so what happened was, you got all these crack heads out here, and all these guys out here selling crack. So Freeway Ricky Ross will tell you himself that he was moving 100 keys. He was making $1 million a week. So now the profit is there. Next thing you know, the CIA stopped giving the guns to the Contra rebels and started giving it to who? The African American, the black community. Then you start seeing guns being dispersed throughout the black community in massive numbers. You know, a whole lot of guns start popping up, and a lot of people start dying. You know, who start, just tripping out on crack. You know, people start, even the crackheads would go to the gun stores and buy the guns, knowing that the guns was going to end up in the streets, and they would sell them to the drug dealers. And the CIA and the government knew all this was going. And at the same time, they said what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a war on drugs. So the war on drugs started, say, around about 1986 officially. It really got where Reagan and everybody got to talking about it. 1986 to 2017, we still fighting the same war, the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we got the drug war. So now what they have to do in order to incarcerate all of these young men and to demonize them, the next move was they came out with the movie Colors. You know what I'm saying? They came out with the movie South Central. Okay, and then in 1991 they came out with the movie New Jack City. They already had Scarface, and everybody loves Scarface. Everybody watched Scarface over and over and over again. And then in 1988, the feds came out with what they call 85%, which means if you get incarcerated, you got to do 85% of your time. In 1989, George Bush, what did he say? He said, we're going to build more prisons, and lock these guys up in such a quick time than we can ever imagine. And that's what they did. They started building more and more prisons in a quicker time than the mind could ever imagine. And so in 2000 and in 1984, you might have had 300,000-400,000 people incarcerated. Today, you got 2,400,000. That's a 2 million increase in incarceration since this drug, this epidemic, crack, hit America in 1984. You see what I'm saying? But that wasn't enough. The drug war didn't stop there. Because after they started, coming up with this indictment and this RICO law, because, RICO was originally for the mob. Mm-hmm. But around 1989, when Bush said he was going to build all those prisons, then the RICO law became a law that they started charging young African-American men with. You hear a lot of so-called kingpins getting the RICO Act. Mm-hmm. So they started getting life in prison. Now, mind you, that this drug crack, if you get caught with 5 grams, this when 100% Rockefeller law came out. If you get caught with 5 grams, now this is the war on drugs was never really a war on drugs. They called it the war on drugs. It was a war on the African-American community. It was a war on young, poor white men. It was a war on young Hispanic men because, check it out, if you got caught with 5 grams of cocaine, you would get 10 years minimum. But if you get caught with 100 grams of powder, you could only get the same amount of minimum that you got for the 10 years for the 5 grams of crack. And the reason why is because the CIA and their chemists put crack into the African American community. So they already knew what crack would do. They already knew how addicted the crack was from their experiment with the monkeys. So now that they got this experiment going on, and they got these people out here hustling for them, and they got Ricky Ross, all you got to do is study what I'm saying. What I'm saying is on the internet. Anybody who doubt what I'm saying, just look it up on the internet. I'm not making this stuff up. So now that they got crack under the Rockefeller laws, where they giving people more time for crack cocaine than they giving for powder, you know what I'm saying? And it's primarily focusing in on the African American community. Then you start seeing prisons really get busy. You start seeing dudes snitching on their mama, snitching on their brother, snitching on everybody, because the time, you know, you get caught with 5 grams, that's 10. You get caught with an ounce, that's life. So you got people who facing life, and they ain't never been in trouble themselves. You talking about first offenders getting 10 or 20 years, and if you tell, you know what they gave them for telling? 10 years, man. That was the bargain. If you snitch on your partners, if you snitch on your whole crew, you get 10 years. So a lot of brothers who were strong brothers, they not only become victims of circumstance, they not only become criminals, but they also became known snitches, because it was too much to bear. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, you can't take a man who's never been in prison in his life, and he got $2 million hiding up under his mama mattress, and tell him you're going to give him 10 years and not expect for him to at least do something crazy. You know, and even the ones who tried to fight, even Rayford Edwards, you know, the dude in D.C., you know what I mean? Initially, he didn't tell, but then he made the excuse that he told because his partners had tried to mess with his girl, or they was doing something, they wouldn't help him out. So eventually, they ended up converting him, and he ended up becoming one of the biggest snitches. You see what I'm saying? And that's how they did. You know, they figured it all out. You know, it was a war on the African American community. So, but nobody tell you about this case. I can't find it for the life of me. And for all you young brothers out there that's out there committing crimes, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I want to tell you that you need to try to find this case. It was a brother in New York. They caught him with 2 ounces of crack. With the 2 ounces of crack, they was trying to give him life. So, but this was one of those brothers who they wasn't able to get his money. Matter of fact, it was a setup. They set him up with 2 ounces of crack. And what this dude and his lawyers did was they hired a chemist. And what the chemist did was the chemist asked the district attorney, he said, can you go to your crime lab and get a 8-ball of cocaine? Bring the 8-ball of cocaine to the court. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform an experiment. And the experiment, what he did was he took some regular baking soda, Arm & Hammer baking soda, he took a Pyrex, and he took a heater thing, a little stove thing, and he put the cocaine from the lab into a Pyrex, cooked it up, put it together, put it on the table. He said, this is crack cocaine, ladies and gentlemen. And then he took the evidence from the guy who got caught with the 2 ounces. He weighed another 8-ball. He said, this is also crack cocaine. They had a specialist come in. The specialist had to determine, you know, from a with a chemical thing, you know, with an experiment, was there any difference between this and that? And the specialist said no. And then so the defense attorney said, well, how can you charge my client with crack cocaine when we're talking about the same substance right here? We proved that this case, this 8-ball of cocaine, you know what I mean, that was only added with some water and some baking soda, created the same substance as this right here. So is it the cocaine that's stronger, or is it the baking soda that's powder, or is it the way you cook it? What is the difference? These are the same exact chemicals. The only thing that we did was we turned it into a chemical substance, hard substance, and they acquitted that brother because they found out that, and they knew that there's no difference between crack cocaine and the difference between powder cocaine. The only difference is you put some baking soda and you put it in a Pyrex and you cook it, and it changes the substance. Now, what the problem was what they were doing. Now, if you take cocaine and you shoot it, it gets into your bloodstream, and then it reaches your brain over a period of time. If you toot it, it melts the powder. The powder it melts into your bloodstreams, and it gets to your brain over a period of time. But when you smoke it in the pipe, it goes straight to your brain and it freezes your brain. That was the real problem. It was not that the drug was more potent. It was the way that the drug was administered and the way that the drug was taken that created the difference.
Too cool to count 24/7.